Okay, welcome back to Mr. Turner's art class. All right, this is kind of a continuation of the last video that I produced. We were talking about the grid method of drawing. I learned that method from looking at an artist by the name of Chuck Close. He was a photorealist, and he was absolutely, excellent at drawing portraits and making them look like pretty much a photograph. And but the thing that was also amazing about his pictures were the scale of the picture, the size of the picture. I mean, they were huge. They were mural size, and you would have to ask yourself, it's like, how was he able to produce pictures like that to that size? And well, it's because he used the grid method. Now, I showed you the grid method, and if you follow along with that video, you just drew like a little small picture, and you made sure that the reference drawing, like in the case, say hypothetically, the Pikachu here, Pika, okay, come on, you gotta love Pikachu. I mean, you just look at Pikachu and he just makes you happy. So, one of the most iconic chibis in all of anime. But okay, so like, if you looked at the last video, the drawing I had in the, well, if you wanted it to be the same size, I was like, just produce a grid. Okay, you have your letters up here, and you have your numbers on the side, and you go back and look at it. I'll provide a link for that video so you can go and do that video. If you're coming here and you're watching this video and you have not seen that original video for how to create a grid, how to do the grid method, then you want to stop watching this right now and then go to that one. I'm not showing anybody really how to use this grid on this video. I'm just showing you how to affect the scale of the drawing. In the original video, the drawing we produced, they became the same size. So it's real simple. Grid's the same size, the drawing will come out to be the same size. Now, however, I can affect the scale of the drawing, which is what Chuck Close did. Like right here, I have a smaller grid. Okay, so this grid here is the exact same as this grid. Okay, they are the exact same, except this grid is smaller. Now, I've already kind of started just drawing Pikachu on here, just lightly, just so I can speed this process up and show you how to do this. But understand, you will need a reference picture, and I do not care what the picture is of, okay? But for practice, I would say get a line drawing or use vector art or something like that of your favorite character or whatever, and make sure you draw a grid over it. Look at my first video and it'll show you like basically how to put that grid up there. Now once you have that, okay, you have your reference drawing. This drawing right now of Pikachu is on an 8.5 by 11 size sheet of paper. So let's just say I want to make this drawing about 50, maybe 75% smaller. Okay, I have to produce a smaller grid. This grid right here, okay, and I went ahead and did the numbers on it. I made sure that it was about 6.5 to 8 inches, maybe 9 inches, because I kind of didn't draw the boxes up here for the letters. But again, this grid that's on here is the exact same as this grid here, except this grid is smaller, okay? So therefore, when I start drawing my character will come out smaller. So I'm just going to go ahead and show you. So I should have a drawing that's about 50, maybe 75% smaller than my original drawing. So that's what I love about the method. And the opposite works. If I want to increase the size of it, make this thing bigger. If I want to increase the size, then I can go right ahead and do just that. Okay, so I'm gonna speed that up So I'm going to cover that up because that's the only thing I want to see. Now, because I'm used to doing this, I'm going to move it over to a larger space, and I'll be able to imitate this for the most part. But I am only looking, really and truly, I am looking at each individual block, and then I'm going to move over, and then I'm going to move over. So I'm moving from left to right, and I'm going to make sure I have that image. Now, I have been doing this for a long time, and I am telling you now, it is easier to focus on one block at a time, because the only thing you're doing is just making lines. Matter of fact, I'm going to move this out the way just so you don't need to see that. Like I said, look at the first video, you will understand what I'm doing, because I'm moving this thing over little by little and just making just lines. And in each block, I'm just making lines. So by the time I am done drawing in each block, I will have my image. Now again, I am moving fast because this video, I want to keep it down to about 15 minutes. And I'm accustomed to drawing. I draw very fast anyway. But this is way easier to focus on, just to focus on one block at a time. Because this thing, to me, just looks like a bunch of lines. So you can see, honestly, how this should be easier. And all I'm doing is going from left to right. So I learned this when I was a kid. I kept practicing it. I became extremely good with it. And I started producing pictures that everybody would say I was drawing well above my age. People trying to understand how was I doing it. So I kept it a secret. I didn't tell them I studied the works of the great artist Chuck Close. I was like, that's my secret. And I made a lot of money doing portraits during junior high and high school. So if I do this right, I will have a duplicate that is probably, I would say, maybe 90-something% correct, looking like the original. This is in block 4. What is that? That's 4H right there. 4H, a little piece right there. Whoop, I should have connected that right there. Okay, so maybe 89% correct. We're not copiers, but this is the next best thing. And all I'm doing is, honestly, I'm just looking at these individual blocks. So I am not thinking about this picture as a whole. I am not looking at this picture as a whole. Better yet, you know, if it came down to it, just so you don't throw yourself off, you know, I would also suggest covering this one up too. So you just focus on the individual blocks. I'm ignoring the picture itself as a whole, just so I can focus on just the individual block. Each individual block is nothing more than a bunch of lines. So if we focus on just that, this comes up to there. We focus on that. When we are done, it will look like the reference picture. His foot is right there. Foot comes almost down to, what is that? C and D number 9. Now again, I'm accustomed to doing this, so I am moving extremely fast. So y'all don't have to move that fast. You just take your time. Speed will come. Right now, you're doing this because you want to learn how to draw and you want to work on your accuracy. So this is how you work on your accuracy. So right here, let me see, what's that? D5, right there. It cuts in between D6 and D7 right there. And I am going to come down a little bit into D7. Come into D7. And I have a little triangle piece that is in D6 for that lightning bolt. And then I have his tail that's sticking, part of it sticking out in A, coming over here, cutting down into B, right by that finger, right by his head, and what is that? C and D, number 3, right there. Okay. And this part of his tail is coming down to about right there. That is 4. It's 4 right here. It's crossing 4. Crossing 4. Piece of it's coming into 5. And coming over to about right there. Okay, so just doing that much, you can see that I have a drawing that is slightly smaller than the original. They are basically the same. I need to put his eye right there though. I mean to put the highlight in his eyes. And then, you know, of course, all I have to do is just go back and shade it and all that. Y'all get the point. And I would do the exact same thing for the shading. I would look at what is shaded, where is shaded, and use the grid to assist. I'm not going to shade this thing in all the way, but I'm just trying to be sure y'all get the point. It definitely works with value. Oh, and he got some stripes. So where that stripe at? That's 6 and 7. 6 and 7D. So 6 and 7D right here. There's one right there, and then there's one on upper portion of his hip right there. There you go. So we have a duplicate. Oh, and I almost forgot. He got them little rosy cheeks, and that's cutting into there. Got a rosy cheek right there. What was that? G3 and 4. G3 and 4. Rosy cheek right there. So there we go. So you see how I did that. That picture is smaller than this, but it is proportionally correct. Okay, it's just like if I was using a computer and I used the magnifying glass, or I zoomed in, zoomed out. That's all you're doing. You're just affecting the picture's scale. It is still the exact same size relative to the original. It's just it is smaller, and that is what you want to do. I can even make this smaller. If I make the grid smaller, this drawing is going to be smaller. So that's if I want to scale down. Now if you want to scale up, it's the opposite. The grid, okay, on here I would need a bigger piece of paper, something bigger than 8.5, something bigger than 8.5 by 11, and maybe I would use something like a 18 by 24 size piece of paper, and then I would make sure that the grid on that paper is the same as here, except it is bigger. So I don't know how big the individual blocks would be, but I'm just going to make up a number. Let's just say that maybe you're using, each block might be 3 inches or 4 inches or something like that, or whatever. So this is physically bigger, but it is the same. It has the same amount of letters up here. It has the same amount of numbers on the side. The grid looks the same. It's just as bigger. So when you start drawing, the drawing will be bigger. That's all you have to do. So whether you're scaling up, make it bigger, make the grid bigger. If you're scaling down, make the grid smaller. Now, one of the problems you're going to run into is a lot of times when you're trying to scale up or scale down is the grid, because you want the grid to be, you know, exact. I mean, you know, so that means there is some simple math involved, and I know I just said a bad word for all y'all that are artists out there, young artists. You're like, math? Yes, there's math involved in this. You're going to have to sit down and figure out, how big, or how small, you have to make that grid. So you're going to have to probably break down fractions if it comes down to it. So learn to read a ruler, Use a ruler, nothing but just get good at breaking down fractions. It will help you, you know. And you just adjust your grid to what you want to do. So I hope this helps. I mean, like I said, I even myself, I had trouble when I was younger drawing, and when I learned to use the grid, it helped. I've already had some of my students, the ones that had trouble drawing, they used the grid. The ones that took the time to try to use their grid correctly, they produced a drawing of, I had them draw a Lamborghini, so a car that was like in a 3/4 view, and for a lot of them, that was the first time they was able to draw something that detailed. So this does work. It's just going to take some practice. Okay, you will have to practice this, and then after a while of you practicing, in truth, you might not need the grid anymore, unless you really do need to make something like an exact copy and it needs to be really big or really small, and other than that, I hope this helps you, so, and all the people that's been coming out, I've had a lot of people come to this channel that they don't attend my class or anything like that. They're just random people out there, just trying to learn how to draw, random kids. And, I appreciate that. I hope I am helping you, if you have any ideas, suggestions, or anything like that, or stuff that you might want to learn, just drop me a line, and just let me know, and I'll see what I can do. And, just if you want, I'm always going to be putting lessons on here for my kids, so you can subscribe if you wish. Hit the like button. Let me know what you think, and like I say, I do appreciate it, and even send some pictures of your art. Let me see what you're doing, So, okay, so I hope this helps y'all. Y'all take it easy. Good luck with the drawing. Peace.